Welcome. Before the day begins to move too fast, take a moment to breathe and be still. This morning is a gift, a quiet space to draw near to God, to be reminded that you are not walking into this day alone. Psalm 23 speaks to that kind of peace. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. These words are more than poetry. They are a promise, a whisper from heaven, that you are seen, loved and guided. Right now, in this moment. Whatever you're facing today, know this: there is grace enough, there is strength waiting, and the shepherd is already walking ahead of you. So come, let's begin this day together in prayer, with hearts open and hope renewed. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That is how it begins. And maybe if you're anything like me, that first line feels almost too simple, too familiar. We've heard it in songs, seen it on cards, recited it in church. But this morning I want to invite you to let it go deeper. Not just words you know, but truth you trust. Because these aren't just poetic lines written by King David long ago. They are a declaration of identity, a quiet, bold statement about who God is and who we are because of Him. The Lord is my shepherd. That's personal, not just a shepherd, not just the shepherd of Israel or of others who seem more faithful or more spiritual. He is my shepherd, and to say that is to say something about both Him and me. It means I belong. I'm not forgotten in the crowd and not left to wander alone. I have someone who watches over me, walks with me, and knows where I'm going, even when I don't. And because He is my shepherd, I shall not want. That doesn't mean every desire will be fulfilled, or every prayer answered the way I imagine. It means something far deeper. I will not be left lacking what truly matters. I will not be without guidance, love, comfort, or the presence I most need, even in the middle of uncertainty. Even when life feels unpredictable or heavy, I can trust that He is enough, and He will provide enough for today. Sometimes we read this and think of peaceful meadows and still waters, but we forget that the shepherd's role is to lead, to protect, to know where the danger is and where the nourishment is. A shepherd's job isn't just to offer comfort, it's to ensure survival, provision, safety, and in that there's strength. When David wrote these words, he knew what it meant to be a shepherd. He had spent long, quiet hours watching over sheep, defending them from threats, guiding them gently with his staff. And when he looked at his own life with all its trials, fears, and uncertainties, he realized, that's what God has been to me. He has watched over me. He has led me when I didn't know the way. He has fought for me when I didn't even know I was in danger. This isn't just ancient imagery, it's our daily truth. Because God has not changed, He is still the shepherd who knows your name, sees your steps, and provides for your needs, even before you ask. Sometimes when we start our mornings, our minds are already racing. What do I need to get done today? What deadlines are looming? What have I not yet figured out? And into that anxious hymn comes this whisper from Psalm 23. The Lord is your shepherd. You are not in charge of holding everything together. You don't have to know every answer. You don't have to strive to earn your peace. You are being led by someone who knows the road ahead and holds the map in His hands. That truth doesn't mean we avoid responsibility or stop making decisions, but it means we make those decisions from a place of peace, not panic, from a place of trust, not fear. We move forward knowing we are cared for, seen and guided. What might it look like to live today fully believing, I shall not want? Would it change the way you respond to stress, the way you treat others, the way you speak to yourself? It's not a phrase of denial, it's a position of trust, a settled assurance that whatever comes today, God is enough, His grace is sufficient, His presence is real, His provision will meet you right where you are. Maybe you're carrying something into this day that feels too heavy. Maybe it's a relationship that feels strained, a decision that's unclear, or a weight of worry that doesn't go away. Can I gently remind you, sheep are not strong on their own. They aren't wise. They don't navigate by instinct. They need a shepherd, and you have one. So this morning, don't try to be everything. Don't try to have it all figured out. Let the shepherd lead. Let him carry what you can't. Let him go ahead of you and make the way clear. Take a breath and say it again. Not as a ritual, but as a prayer. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Let that truth settle deep in your heart today. He is not distant. He is not disappointed in your weakness. He delights in walking with you. He welcomes your need, your questions, even your fears. And as you move into this day, know this: you are not alone. He is with you, He is for you, and He is enough. Let's walk with the shepherd today. Green, lush, full of life. That's the kind of rest He gives. Not escape, not mere distraction, but deep nourishment. The green pasture isn't just a place to stop. It's a place to be restored, a place where we can breathe again, a place where the chaos fades and the heart can hear again. Sometimes when we think of rest, we imagine idleness, or we feel guilt. We tell ourselves we should be doing more, achieving more, proving something. But the shepherd sees beneath all of that. He sees the weariness we try to hide. He sees the tiredness behind the smile, the heaviness behind the routine. And with loving authority, He leads us to lie down. To lie down is an act of surrender. It says, I trust you enough to stop. Because stopping feels risky, doesn't it? It feels like we'll fall behind or be forgotten or lose control. But in God's kingdom, rest isn't failure, it's faith. When we rest, we're saying, God, I believe you are holding all things together, even when I let go. Still waters, that's where He leads us. Not rushing currents, not the noise of crashing waves. Still, quiet, safe, a place to drink deeply and be refreshed, a place to listen, to feel again, to let go. It's in those still waters that our thoughts begin to settle, our breathing slows, and we can finally hear the voice that's been speaking all along. This world trains us to believe that constant movement is success, that if we're not producing, we're falling short. But the shepherd's rhythm is different. His timing is gentler. He leads with wisdom, not pressure. He brings us to quiet places because He knows that what we need most isn't more effort, it's more presence, more Him. Maybe you've been in a season where the pace of life hasn't allowed you to stop. Maybe even when your body rests, your mind stays anxious. The shepherd understands, and He doesn't shame you for it. Instead, He invites you again. Come, lie down. Let me take care of the things you're trying to carry alone. Let me remind you that you're safe. Let me fill your soul with what you truly need. In His postures, there is no rush, no performance, just stillness, beauty, and the slow work of restoration. Sometimes healing comes not through answers, but through rest. Not through striving, but through stillness. In those green postures, the heart mends, the fear loosens, the tired spirit breathes again. And this rest He offers isn't just for the good days. It's not reserved for when everything is working out. It's for now. It's for you, right here, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of your to-do list, your worries, your doubts. He calls you to lie down. He promises that if you follow His lead, He will bring your soul to a place of peace that nothing in the world can match. It's in that place that we remember who we are, not defined by our productivity, not measured by our achievements, but simply loved, held, cared for, a sheep in the shepherd's flock, valuable, not because of what we do, but because of whose we are. Sometimes we don't even realize how much we need rest until we receive it. We think we can keep going, running on empty. But when we finally stop, when we let Him make us lie down, we discover how dry we had become. And then we see it, the green, the goodness, the still water, and we know we are safe. There's a quiet joy in those moments, a peace that doesn't make sense to the world, and it doesn't have to. Because this is the way of the shepherd. He doesn't lead with force. He leads with care, with compassion, He knows the terrain of our lives. He knows where the wild places are and where the quiet water runs, and He leads us there with a steady hand. This kind of rest doesn't mean all our problems disappear. It doesn't mean our schedules clear or our challenges vanish, but it gives us what we need to face them: a rested heart, a renewed spirit, a mind uncluttered by fear. That's the strength found in rest. That's the renewal found in trusting Him. So if your heart feels scattered this morning, if you've forgotten what it feels like to breathe deeply and be still, hear this: He is not disappointed in your weariness. He is drawing near, and He wants to give you the kind of rest that reaches to the core of who you are. Let yourself be led. Let yourself be still. Let the shepherd guide you into green pastures and still waters. Not someday, not when things are perfect, but now, this moment, this breath. Because in His presence, even the most restless soul can find calm. Even the most anxious mind can find peace. Even the most exhausted heart can be made new. Let Him lead you. Let Him restore you. And as you rest in Him, know that you are exactly where you're meant to be, held by the One who knows how to care for you better than anyone else ever could. This is not the rest of avoidance or apathy. It is the sacred rest of surrender, of trust, of letting go and letting God be your shepherd in a world that never stops moving. Today, as you step forward into all that awaits, carry this truth with you. You are being led, you are being watched over, and whenever your strength fades, the shepherd is ready to bring you back to the quiet waters and the green pasture, again and again. You don't have to earn His rest, you only need to receive it. He gives it freely, because He loves you deeply. And that love, it never runs dry. When the shepherd leads us into green pastures and beside still waters, it isn't just so we can pause, it's so we can heal. He restores my soul. That's what David says next, and those 4 words carry a depth we can hardly measure. He restores, not just encourages, not just comforts, but restores. That means something was lost, something was broken, something within us became weary or wounded, and He brings it back. He brings us back. It's not a shallow fix. It's not temporary relief. It's deep, personal renewal. It's soul work. There are moments in life, perhaps you've walked through some recently, where your soul feels tired in a way that sleep can't fix. The kind of exhaustion that comes from grief or disappointment or carrying burdens for far too long. Sometimes we keep going, keep showing up, keep functioning on the outside, but inside we feel distant, dry, disconnected. That's when we need more than a break. We need restoration. The beautiful truth is that God is not surprised by our brokenness. He's not put off by our weariness. He doesn't look at the cracks in our hearts and walk away. He draws nearer. He restores. He rebuilds what was torn. He mends what was shattered. And He does it gently, patiently, with great care. This kind of restoration doesn't always happen in a moment. Sometimes it's a slow unfolding, a gradual healing. But it's no less real. With every morning prayer, every honest tear, every moment we let Him in. He works in the unseen places of our soul. He speaks peace over our fears. He lifts shame off our shoulders. He replaces lies with truth. There's something so healing about knowing we don't have to fix ourselves before coming to Him. We come as we are. We bring the pieces, the fatigue, the silence, and He welcomes us. He begins the work from there. Restoration isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet, in the stillness, when no one else sees it, and maybe we don't even feel it happening, but our souls begin to breathe again. Our hearts begin to soften. The weight begins to lift. Oh, have you ever felt like your hope was running low, like joy was out of reach, or peace was a memory instead of a reality? That is exactly where His restoration begins. In those places where we feel we've lost something essential, the shepherd goes after that part of us, not to scold, but to restore. And it's not just about healing pain, it's about making whole, what life has broken down. It's about becoming who we were meant to be, not in our own strength but in His presence. He restores our identity when we've forgotten who we are. He restores our courage when fear has taken hold. He restores our joy when sorrow has lingered too long. There's a quiet beauty in how personal this restoration is. He doesn't apply the same answer to every wound. He knows exactly what your soul needs today. Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's truth. Maybe it's someone to walk with you. He knows and He provides. Not generically, but specifically for you. Think of how a shepherd tends to a wounded sheep. He doesn't rush. He doesn't overlook. He kneels beside it. He binds what's broken. He carries it when it cannot walk. He stays close. That's the heart of our God. You may not even be sure what needs restoring in you. That's okay. Sometimes the deepest restoration begins when we simply say, God, I'm tired. I don't know what's wrong, but I need you. And in that honest surrender, He meets us. He begins to work. Maybe there are old wounds that have stayed quiet for years, but still affect how you live and love. He can restore those places too. There is no part of your story too far gone, no chapter too dark for His healing light to reach. And the restoration He brings doesn't just return you to who you were, it draws you closer to who you're meant to become. This restoration also changes how we see others. When we realize how gently we've been healed, we begin to walk more gently with others too. We stop expecting perfection and start offering grace. We stop hiding and start sharing our stories with honesty, because we know healing is possible and it's worth speaking of. So what does it mean here in the middle of your day or the beginning of your morning to invite God to restore your soul? It might mean sitting in silence and letting Him speak. It might mean opening your Bible and asking for something real to cling to. It might mean crying when you've tried so hard not to. Whatever it is, He'll meet you there. He is not afraid of what's broken. He specializes in it. And His goal is never just to patch us up, but to make us whole, to bring beauty from what was once dry and lifeless. Let this be the day you stop pretending you're okay, if you're not. Let this be the day you stop running and rest in His arms. Let this be the day you say, Lord, I need you to restore me, and trust that He will, because He is faithful, because He is good, because He is your shepherd. And your soul, yes, your very soul, is safe in His hands. Sometimes we think healing has to be dramatic, loud, immediate. But the kind of restoration God brings often moves more like a sunrise than a lightning strike. Slowly, quietly, but surely. Each moment with Him brings a little more light. Each prayer, even the small and hesitant ones, opens the door for Him to do His work. And the longer we stay near, the more we realize the healing we long for has already begun. Healing begins with honesty, and God is the safest place to be honest. You can tell Him everything, your regrets, your doubts, your pain, your hopes, your numbness. He doesn't turn tame. He doesn't grow tired of hearing you. In fact, He welcomes your voice. He listens, really listens, and in response, He doesn't just fix the surface. He restores the soul. The soul is the deepest part of who you are. It's not just your emotions or your thoughts, it's the core of your being. When David says He restores my soul, he's talking about a work only God can do, because only God can reach those hidden places that we often keep closed off, even from ourselves. The soul holds old wounds and deep fears. It carries disappointments, dreams and longings too fragile to say out loud, and yet those are the places God reaches with the gentlest hand. There's a reason the shepherd restores the soul, because life wears it down. It chips away at us slowly. A harsh word here, a failed plan there, the loss of something precious, the quiet ache of loneliness, the pressure to appear strong when inside we're barely holding it together. And all of this builds up, but the shepherd sees, and He moves toward us, not to judge us for being weak, but to remind us that healing is not only possible, It is promised. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not forgotten. Think of the stories in Scripture, how Jesus interacted with the hurting. He never rushed them. He never told them to get it together. He sat with them. He asked them questions. He touched the untouchable. He called them daughter, son, friend. The same Jesus who restored sight, calmed storms, and forgave the guilty is the same Jesus restoring your soul now. And restoration doesn't mean you won't remember the pain, but it does mean the pain no longer defines you. It doesn't control your decisions. It no longer clouds your worth. Instead, it becomes part of the testimony, evidence of where you've been and what God has done. A soul that's been restored knows peace in the presence of former chaos. It breathes deeper, lives softer, loves more freely. Maybe you've been running on empty, giving your energy to everyone and everything else, while your own soul is running dry. God sees that, and He invites you to pause, to let Him refill you. You're not selfish for needing rest. You're not weak for needing healing. You are human, and your soul matters deeply to the one who made it. Let Him speak over your weariness. Let Him remind you that you don't have to carry the weight of the world. You were never meant to. The burden you feel is not yours alone. He is with you, walking beside you, offering rest for your inner life. This isn't just about managing your emotions or calming your mind. This is about being made whole from the inside out. Sometimes we fear what we'll find when we slow down. Maybe we've been avoiding the stillness because we're afraid of what might surface. But God is already there. Whatever you bring into that quiet space, shame, grief, anger, confusion, He can handle it. And more than that, He can redeem it. When the soul is restored, something beautiful happens. We begin to hope again. We begin to dream again. Not because life is suddenly easy, but because we've been reminded that we're not alone in it. We've been reminded that God walks with us, speaks to us, and works through even the hardest parts of our story. This restoration is not a one-time event. It's a daily invitation. He restores, present tense, ongoing. Every morning you wake up, He's ready to meet you there, ready to lift what you cannot, ready to breathe life into dry places, ready to whisper truth over the lies you've believed. You don't have to chase healing. You don't have to perform for it. You don't have to pretend. Just come. Come with your tiredness. Come with your mess. Come with your silence. And let Him do what only He can do. He restores my soul. Say it slowly. Let it settle in your chest. He restores. That's His heart for you. Not to use you and leave you empty, but to walk with you and make you whole. You don't have to know how it all works. You don't have to see the end from the beginning. You just need to stay close to the shepherd, one step at a time, one prayer at a time, one breath at a time. And as you do, you'll look back and realize He was restoring you all along. And then He leads you forward. Not just to more rest, but to purpose, to direction, to the next step. He leads me in paths of righteousness, for His name's sake. After the quiet place, after the healing, the shepherd begins to guide, not just anywhere, but into what is right, what is good, what is pleasing to Him. The path of righteousness is not simply a moral checklist. It's a way of life aligned with the heart of God. We all walk paths in life, paths of choices, decisions, habits, and relationships. Some are winding, some steep, some unclear. And sometimes we stand at a crossroads wondering which way to go, what decision to make, how to live with purpose and peace. That's where the promise of His leadership matters most. Because He does not just restore us and leave us where we were, He leads us forward, with intention. He doesn't lead us blindly. He doesn't point in a direction and leave us to figure it out. He walks with us. Every step, every turn. He doesn't always show us the full map, but He gives us enough for today, enough light for the step we're on, and that is often the hardest part. Learning to trust Him in the not yet. When we can't see the full picture, When the road ahead is uncertain, we must remember who is leading, the shepherd, the one who knows every bend, every shadow, every stretch of the path. Sometimes the path of righteousness is not the easiest road. It may lead us through uncomfortable choices. It may call us to humility, to forgiveness, to surrender. It may not always look impressive to others, but it is good. And it leads to peace, not the kind the world gives, but the kind that settles deep in the soul, the peace that comes from knowing you're walking in step with God. This path is not about perfection, it's about direction, a life turned toward Him, a heart that says, Lord, wherever you lead, I will follow. Even when we stumble, He's there to lift us up. Even when we stray, He calls us back. He does not abandon His sheep when they wander. He pursues them with mercy and draws them back to the path. Sometimes His guidance is quiet, a nudge, a whisper, a sense of peace or discomfort. Other times it comes through His word, through wise counsel, through prayer that clarifies what was cloudy. But in every way He leads. He leads not just to keep us safe, but to shape us, to form our character, to grow our trust, to align our steps with His greater purpose. And the beautiful thing is, He leads us not just for our own sake, but for His name's sake. That means your journey has meaning beyond your life. It reflects His heart to the world. When we walk in righteousness, we carry His presence into the spaces around us. Our choices become a testimony. Our peace becomes a witness. People begin to see something different, and that difference points back to Him. You may wonder if you're really capable of following that path. You may feel unequipped or uncertain. But the shepherd doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. He equips us as we walk. He teaches as we follow. He strengthens what we offer in faith, and He never asks us to walk a path He hasn't walked first. Jesus Himself walked the hardest road, the path of love, sacrifice, and obedience, even unto death. So now when He leads you, you can trust that He knows what it means to walk through difficulty, and He walks with you still. There is so much wisdom in letting Him lead, in pausing before big decisions and asking, Lord, is this your path for me? In choosing integrity over approval, truth over convenience, mercy over judgment. That's the way of righteousness. And the more we walk it, the more we recognize His voice, the more we understand the joy of following Him, even when it costs something, because in the end it gives us far more than it asks. You may be facing choices right now about your work, your family, your future. You may be asking God for clarity, for a sign, for something sure, and maybe it's not coming as quickly as you hoped. But trust this, if you are listening, if your heart is open, He will not leave you confused forever. He is not a God of chaos. He is a shepherd who leads with clarity, in His timing. While you wait, keep walking in the light you've been given. Stay faithful in the small things, keep your eyes on Him, and trust that even the slow, quiet steps are part of the path. Nothing is wasted in His guidance. No step is too small when He's leading it. And if you've wandered, if you've taken a path that led you somewhere you never meant to go, hear this. You can turn around. The shepherd hasn't moved on without you. He's waiting, watching, ready to welcome you back with open arms. That's the kind of God He is, not one who punishes the lost, but one who rejoices when they return. So today, let this be your prayer. Lead me, Lord. Show me your way. Help me to walk in it with courage, with trust, with grace, not because I know what's ahead, but because I know you are with me, and that will always be enough. But life is not only green pastures and still waters. There are valleys too, valleys we do not choose, valleys that appear without warning, valleys where light feels distant and the air feels heavy. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Those words carry weight. They come from a place of experience. David, who wrote them, had walked through more than one valley in his life. real ones, and spiritual ones. And he came to know something that can only be known in the dark. God is just as present there as he is on the mountain. The valley of the shadow is not only about death itself, it's about grief, about loss, about the places in life that feel uncertain, painful, or overwhelming. It's about the moments we never wanted, the diagnosis, the betrayal, the anxiety that won't let go, the prayer that hasn't been answered. It's those long nights of the soul when you lie awake asking God why something happened or how you'll ever move forward. Yet in the middle of all that, there is this quiet, defiant faith. I will fear no evil. That doesn't mean there's nothing to be afraid of. It means the fear will not rule. It means that even though the shadows feel real, even though the path is steep, even though you can't see what's ahead, you trust the shepherd more than you trust the fear. There is something deeply personal and deeply sacred about how God meets us in the valley. When we are stripped of certainty and comfort, when everything else falls away, we find that his presence does not. He does not run from the valley. He walks into it with us, and that changes everything. You might be walking through a valley right now. It might not be visible to others. You might still be smiling, still functioning, still doing what you need to do. But inside you're hurting, you're weary, you're wondering if anyone really sees what you're carrying, and maybe you've prayed for God to lift you out of the valley, but what you need to hear today is that he's already with you in it. Even though I walk through the valley, not around it, not over it, through it, that means it's not permanent. You are not meant to stay there forever. It's a passage, not a destination, and while you walk, you are not walking alone. There's a strange kind of courage that grows in the valley. It's not the loud, brave kind that people applaud. It's quieter, slower. It shows up in your decision to keep showing up, to keep trusting, to keep praying even when you're unsure. It's in the whispered, "God help me," when no one else hears. It's in the breath you take when everything in you wants to give up, but you keep going because deep down, you believe he is still with you. That kind of courage is born from presence, not your own strength, but God's nearness. And that's what David clings to. For you are with me, not just near me, with me. That is the turning point. It's the reason he can say, "I will fear no evil," because the shepherd is there, not watching from a distance, not shouting directions from the top of the hill. He is right there in the valley, beside you, walking each step. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. The rod is for protection, the staff is for guidance, one to defend you from what you cannot see, the other to gently bring you back when you stray. These aren't just symbolic tools, they represent his active care, his ability to fight for you and his desire to keep you close. And in the valley, we need both. We need to know that God is strong enough to guard us and tender enough to hold us. That he is not absent when it's dark. He is especially present. You may not always feel it, but it doesn't make it less true. His presence is not dependent on your emotions, it's anchored in his character. There is something beautiful about how God works in the valley. The same way roots grow deepest when the ground is pressed down, so does your faith grow strong in suffering, in the stillness, in the questions. That doesn't mean the valley is good, but it means God brings good from it. It means he wastes nothing, not your tears, not your waiting, not your pain. Sometimes in the valley we want to skip ahead. We want to rush through, to numb ourselves, to fast forward to the better part. But the valley has lessons we cannot learn anywhere else. We discover how to depend on God more fully. We see what really matters. We learn to recognize his voice more clearly, because the noise of the world fades, and the silence leaves room for him. Even in sorrow there is sacred ground. Even in confusion, there is grace. And when you come through the valley, and you will, you'll be able to say, not with theory, but with testimony, that God is faithful, that his presence is real, that the shadows didn't win. The valley doesn't mean you're lost. It means you are alive. It means you are growing. It means you are being formed into someone stronger, more compassionate, more grounded in God's love. It means you're being prepared for what's next. So don't despise the valley. Don't let it define you. Let it deepen you. Let it press you closer to the heart of the shepherd. Let it remind you that no matter how dark it gets, you are never walking alone. And when you come through, and one day you will, you'll carry something with you. Not just the memory of pain, but the strength of endurance. The softness that comes from having been comforted, the kind of faith that holds steady, not because everything is perfect, but because you've walked through the shadow and found that God was there, every step, never leaving, always loving. Even now in the quiet spaces of your soul, He is working, He is speaking, He is walking beside you, and you will not be overcome. Not because of your strength, not because of your plans, but because of this simple, life-altering truth. For you are with me. That is what carries you. That is what steadies you. That is what makes it possible to walk through any valley, face any storm, and keep moving forward with quiet courage. The presence of God, real, faithful, close, is the anchor in it all. There's a shift in Psalm 23 that happens right here. Up until now, David has been talking about God. He makes me lie down. He leads me. He restores my soul. But now, in the valley, his language changes. He stops speaking about God and starts speaking to Him. You are with me. It's no longer a psalm about God from a distance. It becomes a prayer to God face to face. That's what suffering does. That's what storms do. They bring God nearer, not because He wasn't already close, but because we begin to feel our need for Him more urgently. And in that need, something sacred happens. Our relationship with Him deepens. Our conversation becomes more honest. Our dependence becomes more complete. You are with me. Not you might be, not I hope you are, but you are, right here, in this moment. That truth is enough to change the way we see everything. It doesn't take the storm away, but it gives us something stronger than relief. It gives us present when God is present. Peace is possible. His presence is not always loud. It doesn't always come with dramatic signs. Sometimes it comes in the stillness, in the breath you take before panic sets in the quiet confidence that helps you make one more decision, in the tears you cry when no one else understands, but somehow, you know God does. Sometimes His presence shows up through people, a friend who texts at just the right time, a conversation that brings unexpected comfort, a song that speaks what your heart can't say. Other times it's felt in the silence, in the knowing that even when you say nothing, He is still listening. God's presence is not a theory, it is a reality, and it changes how we endure hardship. We don't just survive, we learn to walk through it with grace, with trust, with a kind of strength we didn't know we had, because it's not really ours, it's His working in us. You don't need to fake peace. You don't need to pretend you're okay when you're not. You just need to know He is near, and you can talk to Him right now just as you are. You can tell Him the truth, that you're scared, that you're tired, that you don't know what comes next, and He will stay. He will not pull away from your weakness. He draws closer. Even in the middle of pain, even when the winds rise and the answers seem far away, His presence does not falter. That is why David could say, I will fear no evil, not because evil doesn't exist, but because he knew that fear loses its grip when God is close. Think of the disciples in the boat during the storm. They panicked. The waves were real. The threat felt overwhelming. But Jesus was in the boat, and even when He seemed to be sleeping, He was still there. And at the sound of His voice, the wind and waves obeyed. That's the kind of presence you have access to. Not a distant observer, but a savior in the storm. You may not be able to calm the waves around you, but you can trust the one who can. And even if the storm doesn't stop right away, His presence becomes your shelter, your strength, your peace. Sometimes the miracle is not that the storm ends, but that you're still standing, that your faith is still breathing, that your heart still believes. In your hardest seasons, in your quiet heartbreaks, in your unanswered prayers, He is with you. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. The shepherd walks with you, and His presence is not passive, it's active. He defends, He comforts, He carries, He restores. When we walk through storms, it's easy to believe we're alone, but that's the voice of fear, not truth. The truth is this: you are not walking alone. No matter how strong the wind, no matter how loud the fear, God is with you, and He is not leaving. Even when your prayers feel empty, even when your faith feels small, even when your heart is breaking, His presence does not depend on your performance. It depends on His promise, and His promise is this: I will never leave you nor forsake you. Let that promise hold you today. Let it shape how you move through uncertainty. Let it be the light that guides your steps, even when everything else feels unclear. The storm may be loud, the pain may be real, but He is with you, and that is enough. Then something surprising happens. Right in the middle of everything, after the valley, in the very place where we might expect fear or fatigue to take over, the shepherd does something that flips our understanding of protection and provision on its head. He prepares a table, not when the battle is over, not when the threats are gone, but right there, in the presence of my enemies. This is a picture of blessing in the middle of opposition, not waiting until the hard things disappear, but experiencing God's provision while they still exist. It's a declaration that says, even here, in this moment, surrounded by what should discourage me, God is providing for me. He's not rushed, He's not panicked. He spreads a table, calmly, purposefully, right in the face of everything that's trying to shake me. Think about what that means. When God prepares a table, He doesn't do it halfway. It's not scraps, it's not minimal. It's a full table, a feast, a sign of abundance, of belonging, of honor. And it's not just for anyone, it's for you, personally, intentionally, thoughtfully arranged. The enemies may still be present, but so is your shepherd, and he isn't intimidated. We all have things that feel like enemies. Not always people, but burdens, fears, pressures, shame, lies that chase us, voices that say we're not enough. And yet God says, sit down, eat, rest. Let me serve you. He doesn't tell us to fight harder or prove ourselves. He simply asks us to stay close and receive. The table isn't just about food. It's about fellowship. God doesn't just give us things. He gives us Himself. He shares His presence in a way that's intimate and nourishing. He invites us to stop striving and enjoy communion with Him. This is not the reward for getting through the storm. It's the gift we receive in the middle of it. There's power in being able to sit at that table without fear. To say, even while the enemy surrounds me, I will not be moved. I will not rush. I will not let the fear drive me to stand when God has called me to rest. It's a defiant peace, a bold kind of trust, and it only comes from knowing who prepares the table. You don't prepare a table in front of your enemies unless you're completely confident they can't touch what belongs to you. That's the confidence of your shepherd. He's not worried. He's not looking over his shoulder. He knows you are safe in his presence, even if the circumstances suggest otherwise. This table is also a symbol of identity. You are not just surviving. You are honored. You are seated. You are welcomed. You are known. This is who you are in Him, even if life has tried to tell you otherwise. You're not an outsider. You're not overlooked. You have a place and it has your name on it. The enemies may still whisper. They may still watch. But they can't disrupt the meal. They can't take your peace. They can't cancel your blessing. Because what God has prepared for you is sustained by His hand, not by your performance. The table is a declaration that His goodness cannot be undone by the presence of evil. And maybe you're wondering how you're supposed to sit and enjoy the table when the pressure around you is real, when the battle hasn't ended. The answer isn't in ignoring the trouble, it's in keeping your eyes on the one who sits across from you. When you lock eyes with him, the noise begins to fade. You remember who he is, and you remember who you are. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to receive, especially when you've been in survival mode, but this is an invitation to breathe again, to let your soul be nourished, to let joy return, to taste and see that the Lord is good, even here, even now. This kind of provision doesn't always look flashy. Sometimes it looks like a conversation that brings peace, a moment of laughter in the middle of pain, a small breakthrough that reminds you God is still working. It's the everyday grace that surrounds you, even when the bigger battles haven't yet been resolved. This table is also a reminder that you don't need to wait for perfect conditions to live with gratitude. You don't need everything to be fixed before you enjoy what's in front of you. God's blessings are not delayed by trouble. They are placed right in the middle of it, so you'll know they come from Him. And perhaps you're thinking of what you've lost, the times the table felt empty. But here's what's true. When God prepares a table, He also restores. What was taken, He can replace. What was broken, He can rebuild. What was bitter, He can sweeten with grace. So sit, not because you've earned it, but because He's offered it. Let the shepherd serve your heart what it truly needs. Let Him feed your soul with peace, with confidence, with belonging. Let His goodness be louder than the threats, more real than the fear. Even now, He is preparing something for you. Even now, there's more grace than you realize. And the invitation stands not someday, but today. Pull up a chair, be still, eat, be filled. Because in the presence of everything that tried to undo you, your shepherd is still hosting a feast, and you are His honored guest. And you are His honored guest. That's why the table is more than just a meal. It's a statement. It's a moment of abundance in the face of adversity. And just when it seems like the picture is already full of meaning, David continues, "You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over." It's a new image, and yet it flows directly from the table. It speaks of intimacy, of blessing, of care so personal and generous that it cannot be contained. Anointing was a sacred act. In ancient times, to anoint someone with oil was to set them apart, to mark them as honored, chosen, protected. It was a sign of hospitality, healing, and celebration. For shepherds, it also had a practical purpose. They would pour oil on their sheep's heads to soothe wounds and keep pests away. It was a way of protecting the sheep from harm and comforting them with care. So when David says, "You anoint my head with oil," he's saying something deep. He's acknowledging that God doesn't just tolerate him, He cherishes him. He doesn't just feed him, He heals him. He doesn't just guide him, He honors him. This is personal care, not just provision. It's God saying, "I see you. I choose you, I cover you." You may not always feel anointed. Life may have made you feel overlooked, ordinary, or even rejected. But the truth is, God has set His hand on you. He has chosen you, not because you earned it, but because He loves you. And when He anoints, it's not halfway. It's not a symbolic drop. He pours lavishly, freely, as much as your heart will receive. And the result, your cup runs over, not barely full, not just enough to survive, but overflowing. That's who God is. He doesn't give with hesitation. He gives in abundance. He gives joy that cannot be explained, peace that surpasses understanding, strength that rises in the middle of weakness. For it may not always look like material wealth. It may not mean a life free from hardship, but it does mean that in your spirit, in your soul, you are being filled with something the world cannot take away. Something that cannot be bought or earned or lost. A kind of joy that rises from knowing you are seen and cared for by the living God. Overflowing joy is not the absence of sorrow. It's not about smiling through pain or pretending to be okay. It's something deeper. It's the quiet assurance that God is still with you, that He is still writing your story, that even in disappointment, there is goodness, that even in delay, there is purpose. There are days when joy feels distant, when your cup feels empty. On those days, remember this: God is still pouring, even when you can't feel it. He is still tending to your heart. Sometimes the overflow begins with a single drop, a word of encouragement, a moment of clarity, a whisper of truth that breaks through the heaviness. Joy doesn't always come in loud expressions. Sometimes it looks like waking up with renewed hope. Sometimes it looks like laughing when you didn't think you could. Sometimes it's the peace that comes when you finally stop striving and start trusting. That's joy, deep, lasting, anchored in God's presence. When God anoints you, He is claiming you as His. He is covering you in His love. He is protecting your mind, your emotions, your heart. And in doing so, He prepares you to walk through life with grace and strength. Even when things around you are uncertain, what He has poured into you remains. Think about how it feels when you know you are loved, not just tolerated, but deeply and fully loved. That's what the anointing is about. It's God reaching down and saying, "You are mine. I delight in you. I am not distant from your pain or your question. I am near, and I am blessing you, not because of what you've done, but because of who I am." Your cup running over is not just for you. It spills out onto others. That's the beauty of abundance. When your heart is filled, you become a source of hope for those around you. Your peace becomes contagious. Your faith becomes a light. Your compassion grows deeper, not because you're trying harder, but because you're simply letting what God has poured into you overflow. You don't have to chase joy. You don't have to manufacture it. You simply open your heart and let Him fill it. The shepherd knows what you need. He knows where you're empty, and He is not stingy. He is generous. He gives freely, and He gives often. So let Him anoint your head again today. Let Him remind you that you are chosen, beloved, held. Let the oil of His presence soothe every wound, quiet every anxious thought, and renew your spirit. And as He pours, receive, without guilt, without hesitation, simply receive. Then watch as your cup begins to overflow. Not with noise, but with depth. Not with performance, but with presence. Not with pressure, but with peace. You are His, and He is enough. And because of that, your joy will never run dry. That's the beauty of walking with the shepherd. You don't just have moments of peace, you have a life shaped by it. And now, as David begins to close his song, he offers a declaration that wraps everything together. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. These aren't just hopeful words. They are words of certainty. Surely, not maybe, not sometimes, not only when I deserve it, but surely, God's goodness and mercy are not occasional visitors. They are constant companions. This is trust in the journey. Trust that you're not walking alone. Trust that what's behind you is not just a trail of mistakes or regret, but a path lined with the kindness of God. Trust that what's ahead of you is still under His care, and trust that even when you don't see the whole picture, He is working in every detail. Goodness means everything God gives that nourishes and blesses. Mercy means everything God holds back. Judgment, consequences, weight you couldn't carry. And both are chasing after you, following you every single day. Not because you've earned them, but because that's who God is. He doesn't send you out on this path alone. He follows, He surrounds, He remains. Sometimes we look back at our lives and see only the wounds. But what if, as we look again, we start to see the goodness woven through it too? The unexpected provision. The moments when things could have fallen apart but didn't. The people who showed up when you needed them most. The strength you didn't know you had. That was goodness. That was mercy. It's easy to trust God when everything feels stable, but the real journey of faith is trusting Him when it doesn't. When prayers take longer than we thought, when doors don't open on our timeline, when we walk through seasons of waiting or loss or change, those are the places where trust is not just a word, it becomes a way of life. And still, goodness and mercy follow. They are not seasonal. They do not pause when the valley deepens or the questions multiply. They don't disappear when you doubt or struggle. They pursue, they cling, they walk with you when you feel strong, and they carry you when you don't. To believe this is to believe that your story is not over, that you are not being dragged through life by random chance, that every step, every quiet morning, every hard decision, every moment of laughter, every prayer whispered in the dark, is known by God and held by His love. When you live like goodness and mercy are following you, it changes the way you walk. You don't rush as much. You don't strive as hard for what was never meant to define you. You don't panic at the uncertainty of the road ahead. Because you know what's behind you, you know who's with you, and you trust that whatever is coming, you'll face it with the shepherd by your side. There's rest in that, a kind of rest the world cannot offer, a deep, soul-level assurance that allows you to stop proving, stop performing, and simply walk in peace, not perfect, not without questions, but deeply rooted in the love of a God who has never failed you, not once. Maybe you've struggled to see His goodness. Maybe you've been through things that don't feel merciful, and that's real. Pain is real. Disappointment is real. But even there, God has not withdrawn. His mercy has kept you from breaking. His goodness has brought you here. And He's not done. He is still writing your story, still redeeming the chapters that felt lost, still turning mourning into dancing, ashes into beauty, loss into legacy. You may not see it yet, but one day you will look back and realize His goodness and mercy were there the whole time. Sometimes they looked like doors opening. Sometimes they looked like doors closing, but they were there. This promise is not just for the good days, it's for all the days of your life. The messy ones, the quiet ones, the ordinary ones, the days you'll never forget, and the ones you'd rather forget. God is present in all of them. He doesn't skip over the hard parts. He walks through them with you. So wherever you are in your journey today, whether it feels like a mountain or a valley, a feast or a wilderness, know this: goodness and mercy are with you. They will not stop. They will not give up. They will follow you with the faithfulness of a God who has already gone before you and who walks behind you too. And that's why you can keep going, not because life is easy, not because you know what's next, but because you are never outside the reach of His love, never outside the flow of His mercy, never outside the shadow of His goodness. Let that be the truth you walk with today, not fear, not pressure, but the quiet confidence of a soul that knows it is not alone, that it is seen, that it is followed, that it is loved. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And that changes everything, because when you finally know you're not alone, when goodness and mercy are your constant companions, your heart begins to long for one thing more than anything else: to stay in that presence, to stay with the shepherd who never leaves, who always provides, who knows you fully and still welcomes you completely. And that's exactly where David ends his psalm, with the quiet, unwavering promise, "I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." It's more than a poetic ending. It's the ultimate destination of the soul that has walked with God. After green pastures and dark valleys, after restored strength and overflowing cups, there is still more. There is home, not just for a moment, not just for a season, forever. That one word carries hope, big enough to hold a lifetime and beyond. It means that what God begins here, He will complete. That the presence you sense in moments of peace, the nearness you feel in times of prayer, the comfort you receive in the quiet hours of the morning, those are just the beginning. There is a fullness of life waiting, a joy unshaken, a dwelling place with God that does not end. This is not a vague hope. It's a promise, a truth rooted in the character of God. From beginning to two, Psalm 23 is about relationship, not religion, not performance, but belonging. You are not a guest passing through. You are a son, a daughter, a child of the house. And when the shepherd calls you his, he means for all time. To dwell is to remain, to stay, to settle in, to be at rest. It means no more running, no more striving, no more trying to earn a place at the table. You've been invited and you belong. Even here on earth, we get glimpses of that home, in moments of deep worship, in the quiet assurance that God is near, in the beauty of community, and the peace that comes when you finally let go of fear. All of these are echoes of forever. They point to something greater, something more lasting than anything this world can give. We live in a world of change. Everything shifts. People come and go. Seasons rise and fall. Dreams change. Bodies age. But this promise does not move. The house of the Lord is not built on what we can do. It's built on who He is, and that means it cannot be shaken. There are days when this life feels full. Days when joy overflows, when blessings are obvious, when peace feels close. But there are also days when we ache, when we lose, when we long for more. And it's in those moments that this promise becomes an anchor, that no matter what is lost here, nothing can take away what is waiting, nothing can touch what is eternal. Heaven is not just about escape, it's about union. It's about being with the one your soul has always been reaching for. The one who knew you before you were born. The one who walked with you in every chapter. The one who never once let go. To dwell in His house is to be fully known, fully loved, and forever safe. This promise isn't meant to make us impatient for tomorrow. It's meant to give us strength for today, because when you know where your story is headed, you can live with courage now. You can face trials differently. You can forgive more freely, love more deeply, hope more boldly. You don't have to grasp for what fades. You don't have to chase what doesn't last. When your heart is set on dwelling with God, you begin to live from a deeper place, a place not ruled by fear or pride or pressure, but by peace. And you carry that peace with you into your conversations, into your work, into your relationships. Because once you've tasted eternity, once you've glimpsed the beauty of God's forever, it changes how you live in the now. Even grief becomes different. Loss becomes wrapped in hope. Pain doesn't have the final word, because everything here, no matter how beautiful, no matter how broken, is not the end. It's a passage, and there's more waiting. And that more is not abstract. It's real. It's life with Jesus. It's joy that never ends. It's rest that is never interrupted. It's love that cannot be lost. It's the table forever set, the shepherd forever near, the house forever open. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Say that slowly. Let it settle into your soul. Let it quiet your fears, your doubts, your questions. Let it remind you that you're not wandering aimlessly through life. You're on your way home. The beauty of this final line is that it speaks to both now and eternity. Yes, it means heaven. Yes, it means life beyond death. But it also means presence here and now. Because the house of the Lord is wherever He is. And He is here. You can dwell with Him today, in the middle of the noise, in the midst of the unknown. You can find your place in Him now, not just someday. So come, dwell, rest, stay, not as a visitor, not as a stranger, as a beloved child. The door is open. The light is on. The shepherd is still calling, and the journey you're on, with all its highs and lows, leads to Him forever, and that is more than enough. As this quiet time of reflection comes to a close, take one more deep breath. Let the words of Psalm 23 remain with you, not just as poetry, but as truth. Let them shape your morning, guide your thoughts, calm your spirit. Let them remind you that today is not just another busy day ahead. It is a day walked hand in hand with the shepherd. You are not walking alone. You are not without direction. You are not forgotten. The Lord is your shepherd. He knows your path. He restores your soul. He leads you with wisdom. He covers you with peace, and He surrounds you with goodness and mercy that will never run dry. So wherever this day takes you, go with that assurance. Whether you're stepping into challenges or into joy, into decisions or rest, He goes with you. Let His presence be your strength. Let His voice be the one you listen for. Let His love be the foundation beneath every step. You are held. You are known. You are led. May this morning be the beginning of a day marked by quiet trust and steady hope. And if this time of prayer has blessed you, encouraged you, or brought you peace, we invite you to join us again. Subscribe to the Prayer and Power channel so you can start each day grounded in God's Word and strengthened by His presence. Share this with someone who needs to remember that God is with them, right now, right here. Let's walk together, one prayer at a time. Amen.